Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. My name, of course, is John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege. I know my face looks a little weird. I'll get to that in a second. As it is every day to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good things. And speaking of good things, I got two terrific things here in the studio with me today. We got Erin Cummings, and Joey Bishop is here today too. How you doing, Erin?
She's so tired, so I'm gonna lift. She's struggling. She's like, oh God. She did not want to get out of bed this morning. Did you, little girl?
Neither did I.
And she's got her Christmas bows in her hair. And you may be saying, but wait a minute, Erin, it's not even Thanksgiving. Can you believe we have 5 weekends? 5 weekends and Christmas will be over. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean,
that's crazy to me.
In Canada, the rule is after Thanksgiving, you're cool. If you want to start doing the Christmas stuff, you got to wait till after. Because of course Canada's already had its Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. Well,
right?
that
So
makes it a little different.
It's after Halloween. So for those of you who are looking at me, it looks like my lip is swollen a bit and my nose is a bit red. So quick story about what happened to me this morning. So this morning, I'm doing my regular morning exercise and workout routine. And part of my workout routine is that I have the exercise bands, right? And it's got a big ball on the end of it, so you can put it in a doorway and then close the door, and that anchors the exercise bands. So I'm doing standing rows, right? So I'm standing about 5 feet from the door. I'm doing these standing rows.
Shirtless and oiled up. For Anne's pleasure.
No pants Thursday, of course. And then what happened is, all of a sudden I hear like a clap of thunder. And somehow the thing snapped loose, and the ball on the end of the bands that anchors it came flying probably at about 200 miles per hour and smashed into my face.
Oh my God.
And I hit the ground and I'm laying face down on the ground. I couldn't move because it hit my nose first and then my lip, which is why my lip is swelling up. And I'm just seeing stars and hearing bells. And I'm just on the ground going, oh.
Well, tell about your slow motion, because I thought that was pretty interesting. Interesting.
So what happens is, I was telling Erin that how in movies, like something horrible's happening and all of a sudden the camera goes into slow motion and you hear that character having a full conversation while everything else is moving slow motion. So as I'm falling to the ground, I'm thinking to myself, well, wow, it must have come loose and hit me in the face. I hope my teeth weren't knocked out, because it felt like maybe my teeth were knocked out. And, oh no, I'm about to land on the carpet. If my nose is bleeding, I don't want to bleed all over the carpet. Make sure as soon as you hit the ground, Campea, to push yourself off the carpet and get onto the hardwood. And then I hit the ground, pushed myself, because I couldn't move, pushed myself off the carpet onto the hardwood and went, and then Anne comes running downstairs and gets ice on my face. And anyway, that was my morning.
That you get a hit to the face and you're still here ready to talk about movie news. Thank you so much.
I may look a little funnier than normal, but we'll get through there. Thankfully, you know what? I'm looking at myself in the monitor and you can't see the swelling as bad. Like when I'm looking in the mirror, I can really see it, but it's not as bad as it look. Anyway,
well,
guys.
Now you know what she'd look like if you got a few little lip injections.
Yeah,
if you did a little
collagen in there or something like that. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here. We have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about here today. We're going to be talking about the Wonder Woman 84 stuff. We're going to talk about Red Notice is now finished shooting. We're going to talk a little bit about the Video Game Awards as well, and going to let you guys know how this show's going to go. First of all, we're going to do all these topics up front. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to go over and take your guys' live comments and questions. How do we take your live comments and questions? It's easy. Just go to the tip link that's in the top of the description of this video, or enter it in manually at streammoments.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if it's within reason. And of course, you'll be supporting the show at the same time. And me and my plastic surgeon, thank you so much for your support. Also, guys, if you haven't done so already, why don't you take a second and click on that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to the YouTube channel. It'll keep you up to date on all the stuff that we've got going on here. All right, guys, before we get into our main topics, let's talk about one thing off the top, and that is this. Before there was New Mutants and all the, hubbub about when is this going to come out and whatever, there was also a movie with Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland, a little sci-fi epic called Chaos Walking. And this thing shot, I believe, in 1992. I think they shot the movie in 1992. Well, it was years ago. It was years ago that they shot this movie. And it became kind of noteworthy because it was described as being utterly unwatchable. Apparently, it was just horrifically bad. So they knew they had to basically reshoot a whole ton of it. The problem was Daisy Ridley was now busy because she had to go off to shoot this little Star Wars movie. So they couldn't reshoot it for ages. Then finally schedules cleared up. They did a bunch of reshoots. Well, anyway, guys, today it happened. The first trailer, the first official trailer for this new movie, Chaos Walking, has aired. By the way, because of all the controversy, it totally went over my head that Mads Mikkelsen was in it.
Oh,
That totally eluded me. The Mads Mikkelsen, like I was so distracted by all the other noise surrounding this film. The fact that Mads Mikkelsen was in there totally eluded me, and that makes it that's a huge selling feature to me, having Mads in there. Now, for those of you who don't know much about this is the synopsis for Chaos Walking. In a dystopian colony on a planet called New World, Todd Hewitt, played by Tom Holland, has grown up believing a virus has killed all women and given all living creatures the ability to read each other's minds and hear each other's thoughts in a stream of images, words, and sounds called noise. When he discovers an area that is completely silent, he happens upon a young girl, Viola Edie? I don't know. Played by Daisy Ridley, who is the source of the silence. Dun, dun, dun. And then, chaos ensues in Chaos Walking trailer. It's difficult, Aaron, knowing all the drama that has gone on with this thing and all the talk and all the weight, it's difficult to look at a trailer like this when it finally comes out with a completely fresh set of eyes. Like
Right.
it's difficult. So I'm watching it. I watched it the first time and I'm like, I realized I'm watching this through the lens of knowing all the garbage and everything that's happened to it. And it's looking kind of desperate. The trailer is looking kind of desperate to me. Then I said, okay, let's try it again. Take a minute, do the actor thing, whatever. Take a second.
Okay.
Watch it again.
Okay.
And I watch it again. I still don't think it's a great trailer, but the concept is certainly interesting.
Sure.
And I did find myself going, okay, I want to know what's the mystery behind this. What's going on here? Besides that, it wasn't all that great, but it wasn't all that bad. I don't know, Aaron, you had a chance to see this Chaos Walking trailer. What did you think of it?
Well, first of all, I can't tell you how uninterested I am in a world that is completely men. And that is not before everybody freaks out, oh, Aaron hates men. I don't hate men. I love men. I think that you contribute beautifully to the planet. The idea of being the lone female survivor or the only woman on a planet run exclusively by men, and then seeing the fact that there's a couple guys trying to protect her because there are thousands of men who are all coming to kill her. My anxiety just flew through the roof. And I was like, I will never watch this movie. There's no part of me that wants anything to do with any of this. That being said, I am intrigued by the idea of, the ability of people to hear and see one another's thoughts. And there's that great moment in the trailer where Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland's characters are hiding from people, and his thoughts are so vivid and loud, and she's like, shut up, and he's trying to quiet his thoughts. That kind of pressure, that's an exciting thing to see. But I also, it goes back to what we were talking about last week. We talk about sometimes a horrible shoot can turn out a really interesting movie. You have on one end of the spectrum, a movie like Apocalypse Now, notoriously horrible shoot, turned out to be one of the greatest films of all time. Same thing, Dirty Dancing. They likened it to, they had locusts even at one point. They were like, we're waiting for a plague to hit us next. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
World War Z. You and I were talking about World War Z.
Exactly. And, which all turned out, wonderful movies. I quite enjoyed World War Z. Dirty Dancing is a classic. I don't necessarily know if this would fall into that category. But it's certainly, I don't look at a film that had a really bad shoot and go, oh, well, this automatically equates to being a bad movie. The difference, though, is I think the fact that it wasn't just a terrible film shoot. It was a terrible film shoot that produced an unwatchable movie then had to be corrected in reshoots and post so much. And now it's finally and how are they releasing it? Is it being released VOD?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't even looked into it. I'll tell you the one thing that did fascinate me in the trailer, though, was the fact that it's not that everybody has this superpower to read thoughts and she doesn't have that power. It's that everybody's thoughts are broadcast.
Right.
And to everybody else, she's the one with the superpower. And Mads Mikkelsen says that line, like, I can't remember I'm paraphrasing, but anybody who has access to her has way too much power, because the ability to not have everybody know what your thoughts are.
Right.
Is suddenly seen as a superpower in that world. And I thought that was it. That's the part that I found really interesting to see how they evolve that. But again, overall, I didn't think the trailer was all that gay. Question is, guys, what did you think? A trailer for Chaos Walking is finally here. Regardless of how you think the movie may turn out because of all the drama, what did you think of just the trailer? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our main topics today. And how do we select our main topics today? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with our main topics by going anytime when you come across a big topic, going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's totally free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. That down, let's get into main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Alex Whitmer. And Alex Whitmer writes, "Hey John, so the Video Game Awards announced their nominations today, and The Last of Us Part 2 leads all games with 10 nominations, including Game of the Year. What do you think its chances are, and what do you think of it getting the nomination? Thanks." All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, the Video Game Awards. Now, like, I'm not, the biggest, most major gamer in the world. I'm a casual gamer at best. And what games I do play, I normally play on my PC. But it was great to see that I've played a number of the games that are actually nominated this year. Of course, one of them being Last of Us 2 for the big award. Here are the games that were nominated for Best Game of the Year: Animal Crossing, New Horizons, Doom Eternal, which I was just playing a little bit last night, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. So I've played Animal Crossing, I've played Doom Eternal, I played a bit of Hades. I haven't played Ghost of Tsushima, but I've sat around watching my buddies play it long enough. And I didn't play Last of Us 2, I just watched the entire 12-hour cutscene movie of it, which I thought was incredible. What do I think about Last of Us 2? First of all, let me talk a second about Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Honestly, just for a second. I was, number one, surprised to see Animal Crossing got nominated for Game of the Year.
Okay.
But when I thought about it for a second, I'm not surprised at all. Like, I was at first, because it's not what you think about when you think of gaming. Animal Crossing is this simple little game that to me looks absolutely ridiculous. And my wife played the old version of Animal Crossing.
Is it like Farmville?
Something like that. Yeah.
Got it.
But she was always talking about Animal Crossing. She was counting down the days to the new Animal Crossing coming out. And she still, to this day, this game came out in February or March. She, to this day, plays it at least an hour or two every day.
What?
Oh, yeah. She plays it every day. She's always got her Nintendo Switch on her. She plays it at least a little bit every single day.
What is the goal of the game?
I mean,
to get the chicken across the road? Sorry, bad joke. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
You've got to get, like, you get an island, you build it, develop it, get new people who live on it, you build your own house, you get to expand your house. Like, I think they call it sandbox kind of gaming, but it's just basically, I guess it's kind of like The Sims or something like that. You just do, right? And you continue to just do. In a way, it's much like World of Warcraft. And Anne needed my help to do some farming for her while she was doing other things. And
because if you do, in those types of games, if you're not there to harvest your fruit,
you're missing out.
Then it's gonna rot.
Yeah. So she's like, I need you to go pick all my fruit, go sell the fruit. I need you to do this. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I'll do that for you, honey. Right. But as I'm doing it,
such
I'm
a good
realizing
husband.
this is actually shockingly a lot like World of Warcraft. You get quests, you have to get resources. Once you do, you can get things made, you can upgrade things. And it's like, and it's just charming and delightful. And you don't go killing things. It's just a charming, engaging little game. And I was shocked when I realized, I looked around the internet, all it was people playing, like everybody was playing Animal Crossing.
I will say this. Outside of this show, and I'm not a gamer myself, outside of this show, which is the only reason why I've heard of The Last of Us, because we talk about it regularly here. Outside of this show, Animal Crossing is the only game that I would have heard about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only, when I looked at the list of
spheres.
Huh?
You got to be in those spheres, I think.
Right, exactly. But that's what I'm saying is to a layperson who's not, regularly talking about video games. When I looked at the list of all the top nominees, I was like, Animal Crossing. Oh yeah, I know what that is. I've heard of that game. I've heard people talk about it.
And Anne, I told Anne about the nomination. She was thrilled, of course, because it's her favorite game. But I was really, really impressed. Listen, as far as the Last of Us 2 thing goes, Last of Us 2, I've said this before on the show. Now, there was some blowback on Last of Us 2. Some people didn't like that a girl won. Some people didn't like that certain characters did certain things, or that we switched perspective to who we thought was an antagonist, or whatever. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I have never been utterly floored by the storytelling in a game ever. There have been some very good storytelling in some games. God of War, like it's a great story, and the way it ends with it being Loki and all, it's a great thing. Red Dead Redemption, Uncharted, Thief's End. I've been impressed with some storytelling games. I have never been utterly breathing heavy and like shaking my head and had an emotional impact like the way Last of Us 2. It is the greatest achievement in storytelling in video games ever, in my opinion. I mean, it's not even close, like by a mile.
Well, to that point, I went through the list, and of all of the nominated films, games, Last of Us, and this is by no stretch, a metric for determining what should win a video game award, but Last of Us is the only one that's being developed into a project.
Out of these ones here.
Out of the ones that are listed, correct. And again, that doesn't necessarily, like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is a great video game, but it's being developed into a television series by Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl.
Right, yeah.
And so for the creator of Chernobyl to find a story within this video game worthy of developing into a series, now Craig Mazin also wrote Scary Movie 3 and 4. So
everybody has a bad day at the office.
Hey, very entertaining films, satisfy a certain audience. But for the creator of Chernobyl, who really has his pick of any project in Hollywood right now, to choose this video game as something that he wants to develop into his next series, that's pretty remarkable. I will say though, Ghost of Tsushima sounds really, really intriguing. I think it's like the year 1247, and there's one last surviving samurai, and in order to defeat the Mongols who are invading, this samurai can't rely on traditional samurai fighting styles, but has to learn the way of the ghost. And that sounds like a really cool.
Dennis,
as long as Tom Cruise isn't playing that samurai, I would, maybe.
I like that movie. I like Last Samurai.
Nothing wrong with it. I'm just, sorry.
But Dennis, right?
Dennis.
Zen.
No.
Don't you? Have I not had you do stuff? Anyway,
I don't know.
I just assumed you knew Dennis. Anyway, Dennis Zen, who's worked with me for I've worked with Dennis Zen for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I know he was playing it about. I know he loved this game. And Hades is really fun too. Hades is really cool. But anyway, I think it's great. And we'll see what happens there. But anyway, guys, what did you think about the nominations? If you're into the gaming stuff, jump on down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move into main topic number 2, shall we? And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Neil Anderson, who writes, No Pants Thursday.
Hey.
Hello, John and Aaron. One of the movies coming that I'm really looking forward to is Red Notice. I don't know a lot about it, but I know it has Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. I rarely get excited about a movie because of the stars, but this one is an exception. I saw a group photo of them today marking the end of production. Are you looking forward to this? And do stars really draw an audience anymore? Thanks. All right. Thanks a lot for sending in the question, man. And first of all, let's talk about this. Red Notice is the latest movie that was in production, got shut down because of the pandemic, was able to return to production, and has now wrapped. We're hearing about more and more of these movies that are being able to wrap up now. And yeah, Dwayne Johnson got on his social media the other day, and he put out this picture. And in the picture, he wrote, "The FBI profiler, the world's most wanted art thief, and the greatest con man the world has ever seen, also known as Deadpool, Wonder Woman, and Black Adam." That's an official wrap on our film, Red Notice. So it is done. It is wrapped. And obviously that little write-up that he just gave you gives you a little bit of an idea about what's going to be. This is going to be a Netflix original movie, action adventure. Now, on the one hand, I am a little bit skeptical about it because I love Ryan Reynolds. Mm-hmm. I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan.
Canadian kid.
Good Canadian kid. I love Ryan Reynolds, but he just did this big action film on Netflix called Six Underground. Mm-hmm. Was not good. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't anything wrong with Ryan's performance. Just the movie overall wasn't good. Had its moments, had some redeemable qualities, just wasn't all that good. So there's that. Number one, it is remarkable that a lot of these films were able, still in the midst of the pandemic, to come up with the right protocols, get back together, and finish their films. Jurassic World just finished their filming recently too. I mean, that's great. That is fantastic. I won't lie to you, the idea of seeing Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds together again, because they were together. My favorite scenes of Hobbs and Shaw were the scenes with Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson together. Those were my absolute, the chemistry between these two, the comedic chemistry was fantastic. I loved it. And so I'm looking forward to seeing them. And by the way, Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds are the two highest paid celebrities in Hollywood. They're the highest paid actors in Hollywood, number 1 and number 2. Look, it's hard not to be attracted to a movie when you hear Dwayne Johnson, Gal Gadot, Ryan Reynolds, all in the same movie. That's impressive. Do the stars of a movie draw out the audience today? Not really, but there are extreme exceptions. Like, for the most part, having a known, recognized name in a movie, it's not so much about everybody will run out to see this movie if this person is in it. It's really more about having somebody the audience recognizes gives credibility to a movie. It's almost like when a movie tries to come out and an average audience member looks at a trailer or a poster and I don't know any of these people. It's almost like there's a disconnect in people's mind.
Right.
You at least got to have somebody in there that people recognize for the general audience member to go, oh, I should take this movie a little bit seriously. Doesn't mean they're going to run out and see it, but at least to them now it's a legitimate thing. But every once in a while, even Dwayne Johnson, who I think right now is the most bankable movie star in the world.
Yes.
Even you can't just put him in anything and expect it to make $800 million.
Right.
Like Rampage made way more money than it would have if anybody else was starring in it. But it's not like it made $700 million at the box office.
What was the movie that he did with Nev Campbell? Skyscraper?
Oh, the Skyscraper. Yeah. Again, not a huge hit. Not a great movie. It was fun. It was fun, but not a great movie.
Right. But I think there's also the assumption that someone, like I was just saying about Craig Mazin, if you have your pick of anything to do, which one would assume Dwayne Johnson does, one would assume that Dwayne Johnson can just go, I'm going to have access to the best scripts in Hollywood, and I'm going to choose, the top 2 or 3 that I'm going to work on over the next couple of years. One assumes those are the best projects that are out there and available. So it's sort of like, I just kind of go, all right, well, if you're in it, then clearly this had to go through a lot of filters. It's probably not going to be a garbage movie, but that's not necessarily always the case.
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a garbage movie with a really nice paycheck, and that's all it takes.
Well, yeah, and these are the 2 highest paid guys in Hollywood. I am not so convinced it won't be garbage because it's going to Netflix. Now, and again, there have been a couple, even just this year, there have been a couple exceptions.
Trial of the Chicago 7
is my favorite movie of the year right now. I love Charlize Theron's Old Guard. I love that movie. I thought it was 1,000 times better than that Chris Hemsworth garbage Extraction. And I know a lot of people like it. I don't know what the hell you guys are watching, but hey, that's why all films are subjective. I thought it was terrible. Anyway, but Old Guard was great. It's still about a 20-to-1 ratio of every one good Netflix original movie. There's like 20 bad ones. So I just can't get terribly excited about it, even though I love Dwayne Johnson. I love Ryan Reynolds. It's a huge cast. You put in Gal Gadot, who's a big star with them right now. I mean, it's an impressive collective.
Well, I think that, going back to the original question of do stars draw people in, I was thinking about this last night, and for me, it's not necessarily an individual star. I can't think of anybody offhand that if someone says, oh, this person is in this movie, that I'm going to go, oh my gosh, well, I have to see it because it must be good. But when it comes to buddy comedies or just buddies any 2 actors who have great chemistry with one another, that's something that people latch onto, that people get familiar with, because then it's not just this actor put into a random scenario where that actor might be taking on a completely different persona that we don't like we don't like to see that actor in. You know what I mean? Like, speaking of Tom Cruise from earlier, people like to see Tom Cruise doing a certain Tom Cruise thing. But then when he tries to go outside of that, it gets mixed reviews. So with Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson having established that wonderful chemistry between the 2 of them, it reminds me of, Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
And, I mean, going back to Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, or Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, like if I see certain 2 names together, I go, oh, I know what the relationship is going to be. I know what the dynamic is going to be.
Yeah.
And I love Tina Fey. If somebody says, oh, this is a Tina Fey movie, I'm probably going to go, okay, I'm intrigued. I'm interested.
Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
But if it's Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, I go, oh my gosh, I know what I'm getting into, and I'm already my foot's already in the door, because I feel like almost I'm visiting old friends. I mean, everybody's got those buddies that, when you hang out with
Ferrell,
them.
John C. Reilly.
Exactly. When you hang out with them, they're just going to, you can just sit back and watch and, open a beer and be like, I'm just going to sit here and watch the 2 of you just go at it and, have fun. That's how I feel.
Sounds like you're watching porn. But anyway, yes, please continue.
I mean, hey, you don't know the kind of friends I have. And so, that's how I feel when I think about, Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson, coming together. And with Gal Gadot, I haven't seen a lot of her work outside of Wonder Woman. I know that she's done other things, but I'm glad that she is doing other projects that show her range beyond Wonder Woman. I think it's really important for an actor or an actress, because let's face it, the only thing people really knew her from at all was the Fast and the Furious movies. And so for her to have such a huge role as Wonder Woman, that could be very limiting. So I think it's great for her that she is branching out and doing other projects.
We've got Death on the Nile coming, which she's also in. And I know you're not a huge fan. I am not a big fan. Actually, well, let me say this. I have become more and more of a fan of her personality. Like when DC Fandom happened, and they had the whole Wonder Woman virtual panel, The person who stole the show on that panel was Gal Gadot. I mean, she was great. I remember saying, if I was a producer and I wanted a performer who could really go out there and sell my movie, like it would be her.
She's definitely very intriguing and engaging.
So much
smart.
more so than she does on screen. So much, but I also believe she has been getting incrementally better, which is what you want to see. Like I compare it all the time to Channing Tatum, because for the longest time I thought Channing Tatum was the absolute worst actor in Hollywood getting consistent work. But he kept working and he got better and better and better. Now I really look forward to Channing Tatum being in movies. And so I'm very curious to see how Gal, number one, does in a movie like Death on the Nile, which she gets to work with an incredible director in Kenneth Branagh, and then see her do something, a lighter fare kind of action-y thing, opposite to very strong personalities in Ryan Reynolds. And so it's going to be interesting to see how she's continued her development, you know?
Yeah,
so
because you look at someone else like a January Jones, who became very well known with Mad Men, even being nominated for an Emmy. And then when she went to do other projects, you know, fill in the blank.
All right.
Won't say anything.
All right, guys. With that said, guys, what do you think about this whole thing? They've wrapped Red Notice. Are you looking forward to it? Does the name on the marquee, does the name of the actors in a movie, is that what draws you to films these days? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3, shall we? And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Amir I. And Amir I writes, when you posted on Twitter the other night that a couple of big announcements were about to come out showing the studios giving up on theaters, you even nailed the part where they'd say we're still committed to theaters, and they did. I knew one was going to be Wonder Woman. So, 2 questions. Number 1, how did you know? Number 2, does WB tell you this stuff? And number 2, what do you think caused them to make this move? Thanks. All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, Wonder Woman 84 is going to come out on HBO Max on December 25th. A little bit of background to this. So it was a week ago. I can't remember how long ago it was. A week ago, a number of days ago. Rob and I are doing the show. And we discussed the topic of, hey, there's a possibility Wonder Woman 84 gets pushed back into summer. And there's a possibility it comes out on Christmas Day in theaters and then comes out on HBO Max like a few days later or a week later or a couple of weeks later, whatever. And I said on the show, it's possible it could do that. It's possible it could come out in theaters and then come out on HBO Max a few days later. But I don't think it will. It's gonna come out. They're gonna push it back to summer. They're gonna push it back to summer. Well, somebody saw that show and gave me a call. For some reason, listen, I love Disney, but I will call out Disney's crap when I think there's crap. Like their lack of premium original content on Disney Plus. I'll complain about this. I'll complain about that. I'll complain about Warner Brothers, but I actually have a really good relationship with Warner Brothers. I have several friends at Warner Brothers. All that to say is this. Somebody gave me a call and said, so I was watching your show, John, and you saying, yeah, like you think they're going to push it off. Just so you know, it's coming out on HBO Max on Christmas Day. And I went, really? And they're like, yeah, it's coming out on HBO Max Christmas Day. Don't tell anybody, but it's coming out on HBO Max. So I then got a word from a second piece of information about Black Widow. And so I put out this tweet, but I made the tweet ambiguous. In my defense, I made the tweet very ambiguous. And I put out this tweet that just said the other night, a couple of nights ago, I said, you know, a couple of very big significant announcements are coming out in the next couple of weeks that pretty much show that Hollywood studios are giving up on theaters. And when they do make these announcements, they will say things like, we're still committed to the theatrical experience, but it's just niceties at this point. I put that tweet up. It was only up for about an hour because I got a phone call from this guy saying, you said you wouldn't tell him, but I said, I didn't mention Wonder Woman. It's like look at your Twitter stream. Everybody's figuring out that you're talking about Wonder Woman. I'm like, all right. So I pulled the tweet down.
But hold on.
And then about a day later.
But you know what? Here's the thing. And if this person is watching, I'm calling you out, because that's like someone telling me a secret and then me going and telling someone, like calling, I don't know, Perez Hilton, not comparing you to Perez Hilton, but but telling someone that has clearly a show about movie news and then being like, but don't tell anybody the secret that I wasn't supposed to say in the first place, and then getting mad at you for like even hinting. Come on, you should have kept your mouth shut, Mr. Warner Brothers. That's on you.
I think they were rubbing it in my face that I was wrong about what I said on the show, because I could do that, but they're gonna.
How about wait until an hour before the announcement is made?
Well, okay, but they just want to push it in my face. And to be fair, listen,
everybody likes to be the keeper of a secret.
I get told a lot of stuff that I totally keep my mouth shut. But when I found out about the Black Widow thing, I thought, I'm going to put out this ambiguous tweet. But
Black Widow?
I talked about Black Widow on the show. I told you about that,
yeah. Okay.
So I thought, well, now there's these two things. So I put out this tweet. I kept it ambiguous, but but you know what? In fairness, he was right. I mean, everybody, when you looked at the responses, like everybody was figuring out exactly we were talking about Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. And so I pulled the tweet down. Anyway, that's how I knew. The other thing connected with this is the bigger issue. We talked on yesterday's show about the fact that while I'm not going to be surprised if Black Widow does not go straight to Disney Plus, I do believe it's likely. And we spent a good amount of time on yesterday's show laying out why I believe it is actually now likely. Whereas I thought it was an impossibility before.
Same.
But as I said,
there's no way it'll happen.
No way. But as I've said many times during this pandemic, the longer the pandemic goes on, the more and more things that were impossible start to become possible and feasible. Mm-hmm. And then it stretches out longer. Even more things become possible, even thing. And of course, Disney's now just looking at accelerating what their master plan was all along, which is to convert Disney into a complete direct-to-consumer company with Hulu and Disney Plus and whatever. But here comes Wonder Woman. Now, after Patty Jenkins swearing just a few weeks ago, no, we're about the theatrical experience on this. Well, guess what? Even though Patty Jenkins, who I adore, is the director of that film, she is not the top of the food chain.
And she doesn't control the money.
She does not control the money. And they that control the money control the movie. Mm-hmm. And it came out. And listen, I don't believe for a second that this move of Wonder Woman now going to HBO Max. And you know what? Let's be specific here. Because there are some interesting specific points here that should be noted. This is the story as it came from Variety. Audiences will get to see Wonder Woman 84 on Christmas Day after all. After much speculation, Warner Brothers announced that the superhero sequel will debut on the streaming service HBO Max on December 25th, the same day it will open in U.S. movie theaters. There's something we have to talk about first, but we'll get to that in a minute. Internationally, where HBO Max is not available, Wonder Woman 84 will premiere in cinemas 1 week earlier. So for those of you who don't have HBO Max, a little bit of a treat. You get it earlier than everybody else, even though you probably can't go to your local movie theater anyway. But on December 16th, the film will stream on HBO Max for a month at no additional cost.
So then what happens? It's only going to be on HBO Max for a month, and then it's not going to be on HBO Max anymore, and it'll be in theaters?
Once it's
already come out digitally and is pirated all over the world?
See, here's my guess. And I have put out a request for some more information. I haven't heard anything back, which is not surprising. But here's my guess. My guess is Wonder Woman 84 probably already had a licensing deal in place.
Okay.
Where it would go to something else after its theatrical run. And maybe by debuting it on HBO Max, they found a way to circumvent that, at least temporarily. Because remember, when HBO Max launched, they had a number of things on HBO Max that then quickly left. I believe the Harry Potter franchise was one of the things. Hey, everybody, sign up for HBO Max. We've got Harry Potter. Then everybody blinked for a second and it was gone. And now Harry Potter isn't on streaming anywhere at the moment.
So the whole purpose is to get people to sign up for HBO Max.
Oh, yes. I think that this is absolutely, you cannot convince me that this move is not at least in some indirect way connected to the fact that Disney came out just a week or so ago, announced we have accumulated 73 million subscribers in just 1 year. They have blown past HBO and HBO Max in subscribers and everything in 1 year. In 1 year. And this whole movement, everything I talked about yesterday on the show about why Disney is making this fundamental shift to all things streaming, even though that's not necessarily good for us, but I get it. It makes business sense why they're doing it. All those principles apply to HBO and HBO Max as well.
Right.
Because they want that, they need that. And their subscription signups has been disappointing, especially when they look over the fence and they see Disney Plus. They've got the kiddie pool in their yard, and then they look over the fence at Disney Plus and they got jacuzzis and spas and, all the
water
hot
slide,
male and female models walking around serving hors d'oeuvres to the guests. I mean, they say, hey, we want a bit of that party. So they did exactly what I said they were going to do, because I knew part of the statement was going to be, but we are still committed to the theatrical. That, sure enough, that was in there. But that's just niceties. This is their move of, we have got to start creating more of an impact now with HBO Max. We have got to start turning the tide now with HBO Max. And the delays, it's presented an opportunity, and they decided to go that way. We'll talk about whether it's a good thing. The other thing about that statement, though, let me just bring it up again for a second. The other thing about this statement is the first part. Warner Brothers announced that the superhero sequel will debut on streaming services HBO Max on December 25th. The same day will open in U.S. movie theaters. Which movie theaters?
Right.
Because AMC may have a deal with Universal right now and Cinemark. But what Bill and Ted 3 taught us is, you can say we're also putting it out in theaters, but there's only a couple of theaters out there, more than a couple, but I'm talking relative terms. There's only a few theaters out there that will show movies that are doing day and date releases. Regal won't show them. And I don't even know that AMC will show it, because they've got a specific deal with Universal. Maybe they will. So when they say in theaters, okay, which theaters, particularly in the United States? Well,
and HBO Max is also going to want to make sure that they have I don't even know if they have the ability to have a say-so in how many theaters. I mean, is that potentially part of the HBO Max deal of, okay, well, we're going to pay X amount of dollars to acquire Wonder Woman for our streaming platform, but, we want to make sure that it's not going to be in too many theaters?
They don't even have to pay for it. I mean, it's Warner Brothers. It's their movie.
Okay.
That's the thing. They don't have to license it. So, which is part of the advantage for them, is that there's no licensing involved for them, because they can just do it. So to me, this is clearly a play. And then the 1 month, again, there might be something else behind the scenes. I've got no official word on this, but the fact that it's only going to be available for 1 month suggests to me that it's then going to have to go do something else. Again, I don't know that. That is just me speculating. But
I guess I'm just surprised, because all of these announcements with Wonder Woman and Black Widow, I wouldn't be surprised if we were in the same place, pandemic, COVID, that we were maybe 2 weeks ago. And what I mean, yes, I'm aware numbers are spiking everywhere. We were just talking beforehand about the numbers in Los Angeles that are just going out of control. But also in the last 2 weeks, we've had really promising reports about vaccines with 95% efficacy from Pfizer and Moderna that are going to be distributed as, they're going in tomorrow. They're going to find out if they get the emergency federal
approval from the
approval. Dr. Fauci's talking about them being distributed as early as December for frontline workers and to the wider population as it goes on through April. So my feeling was, oh, okay, well, not that I was equating, yay, we're going to have a vaccine with when our movie's going to be back in theaters, but if I'm running Warner Brothers, I think, okay, great, let's get on the July 4th weekend books and have our big summer blockbusters. So I for me, the timing was just weird in that we just got, for the first time, a light at the end of this really horrific tunnel that, if it all goes the way the scientists are saying it's going to go, could result in a really wonderful summer for everything, not just for movies. But so that was surprising to me, that the first glimpse of good news and a potential end to this situation we've been in And the very immediate movie news after that is, oh, well, we're just going to put these movies on VOD.
See, you're
that was
exactly
surprising
right.
to me.
You're exactly right. And because everything you just said is so true, it puts an exclamation point on the
Exclamation point?
Exclamation point. What did I say?
Well, it's the lip thing.
Maybe
You said explanation
Did I
point,
say
but it's the lip.
explanation?
You know what? It's the lip
The
thing.
explanation point.
I didn't know if there
The
was a
point
new.
I'm
I didn't know if there was a new
making explaining this to you.
pronunciation term that I should learn.
The exclamation point. It puts an exclamation point on the fact that this is the studios signaling, yeah, that's not the direction we're going. We are going. Now, it'll be different for studios like Paramount, Sony, things like this. They don't have their own streaming services. So I had a bunch of people writing to me saying, John, what do you think is going to happen in No Time to Die? I think it's going to go straight to streaming too. Here's the difference. Disney has its own streaming network it is trying to promote and get ingrained. Warner Brothers has its own streaming apparatus. Has its own streaming
did
thing.
not realize
Sony
that
doesn't.
HBO Max was owned by Warner
That's
Brothers.
all. Yeah, it's all Warner Brothers. All under AT&T. They own it all.
I hope that King Richard is still going to come out in theaters in Thanksgiving.
I mean,
finally got my shoot date. King Richard, the Will Smith movie that I'm doing. I was supposed to film on one date, and then I got this email. Oh, we've had to shut down production again. So apparently there was like a string of false positives, but which is good. That
caution is good.
Exactly. They go, oh, we have a positive test. We're shutting things down, and then now we're back up and running again.
Yeah. So, but the point you raise is so on target. The fact that, hey, now that we're getting this light at the end of the tunnel, now is when we're hearing about all these big major ones switching. To me, that just further indicates that this is the way, particularly that the studios that have their own platforms like HBO, like Disney Plus, that this is the way they're going. Look, I'm not saying we're not going to get movies in theaters anymore. I'm not saying any of that, and who knows what's going to happen. But to me, it just really highlights on that. Is it the right move for them to do? Was it the smart move to take Wonder Woman and put it on HBO Max? In an immediate sense, no, it wasn't. Because you're right. If this vaccine starts coming out and we get these theaters back up and operational mid-year, whatever, Wonder Woman could have potentially, not that it would have made $1 billion, but it had the potential to be $1 billion film.
Sure.
They are going to take a short-term hit in the hopes that moving it onto HBO Max now and early and bringing this sort of attention to HBO Max, which is falling behind Disney Plus and is still continues to fall way behind Netflix and all these sorts of things. They're hoping that the long-term benefits of this will outweigh the financial losses they're going to take. And make no mistake, they're going to take financial losses on this.
Big time.
That it will outweigh in the long run the financial losses they take by not having this thing truly theatrically.
Well, and especially during the holidays, that's when you want people to, because people theoretically have the time to sit at home watching movies, watching projects. And, and I know that I know that not everyone who watches cartoons is a child. I get that. I'm an adult. I like watching animated films as well. But let's face it, a big draw for Disney Plus is the fact that, if you're a parent, you're subscribing to Disney Plus. If you can afford it, you're getting Disney Plus. And if you can choose between all the streaming platforms and you've got kids, Disney Plus is on the top of your list of ones that you're going to subscribe to. And so if you have kids also who saw the first Wonder Woman, again, Wonder Woman, all these action movies with superheroes, especially the DC version, the DC ones, kids want to see those, and kids are going to want to watch those during the holidays. So if you've got kids and they saw Wonder Woman, the first one, they're going to want to see the second one. And
and how about instead of Disney Plus, HBO Max becomes a little bit more attractive. Yeah, and maybe that is something that has been waning on the HBO Max's thing is appealing to families. I haven't seen them do anything really to appeal to families yet. Maybe this is one of the first moves to say, hey guys, listen, we're not just for adult content.
And that's the thing, is that with so many parents being forced to educate at home now, we just heard about New York school closings,
shutting down again,
and so you have kids that are stuck at home, and parents that, especially in the winter when, in certain areas of the country when you can't necessarily just go outside and play in the park, a lot of parents are pulling their hair out like, what the am I going to do with my kids all winter? So stick in front of the television. Now you got HBO Max and Disney Plus. There you go.
Well, anyway, guys, so Wonder Woman 84 going straight to HBO Max. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably throwing in questions about that in the live questions part of the show, so we'll get to that in just a second. Question is, guys, what do you think about the move? Are you surprised? Good move, bad move, whatever. I'm sure we're all looking forward to seeing Wonder Woman 84 on Christmas Day. I'm not going to lie to you, though. I was hoping that Christmas would come along, some theaters would be open, get to go with a bunch of friends to a theater with some other film fans and see it and cheer and hoop and holler. We're going to have to watch it doing the same thing you do every single fucking night. Sitting at home in the same couch, watching the same fucking TV. Whatever. I'm still looking forward to seeing it, though. Question is, guys, what do you think about it? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all that down and out of the way, let's now go over and start taking your live comments and questions. Once again, if you want to get a live comment or question on the show right now, simply use the tip link in the top of the description of this video. It's streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question read on the show if it's reasonable. And of course, you'll be supporting the show at the same time. All right, guys, let's get into it here. We're going to start things off here with Willow. And Willow writes, apart from Kevin Feige saying no to the idea, are there any legal/rights issues that would bar James Gunn from being able to cross over Sylvester Stallone's MCU character with a DC property like Suicide Squad? Oh, absolutely. Yes. Many problems with that. That is, as of right now, his Guardians of the Galaxy character is a Marvel-owned IP. You can't just make a movie if you're some other studio and bring that IP in and start doing it. You can't do it that way. It would have to get approvals up and down the line. Now, if Kevin Feige gave his blessing to it, he is the president of Marvel Studios, so he's the ultimate one who can give the authority to that. But in this hypothetical situation, no. There's a million things. There's no way you can do it without the actual blessing of the company owning the IP. Campea Gotta Woody writes, John, that goes back to a show the other day. I'll tell you about did you hear about the new Spike Lee film?
Yeah, about the Viagra.
Yeah. So I said, you guys think not giving away my shot from Hamilton is big? You just wait until the big hit, I've Got a Woody, starts coming. Or no, I said Stiffy, though. I said, I've Got a Stiffy. That was going to be the new hit song, sweeping the nation. Anyway, Campea Got a Woody writes, John, I heard one of your listeners say, so what if the movie's closed? As long as he gets it on VOD, who cares? Well, the people in other countries that don't have the streaming care. Theaters, as all some countries have, selfish. Well, I mean, that brings up another interesting point about the Wonder Woman 84 situation, is the fact that, okay, you can go on HBO Max. HBO Max ain't everywhere. Not everybody gets HBO Max in every country. There's a lot of countries that don't have HBO Max.
It's not available in Canada, is it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's available in Canada. I know it's not available in the UK. I know there's a lot of places HBO Max is not available. And it's like, well, you get the option going to see it in movie theaters. There's a lot of people not going to movie theaters right now. And there's a lot of movie theaters not open. This is going to kind of create the same sort of situation we had when Mandalorian season 1 came out, where we were all predicting Mandalorian is going to become the most pirated thing ever because it's going to be on Disney Plus and a lot of countries don't have it. It's going to get pirated the crap out of it. And it did. Wonder Woman is going to have a piracy issue.
Yeah.
There's going to be a big... And again, it's not because there are people unwilling to pay for it. It's because you're advertising it, you're pumping it up, you're putting it out.
People are going to be talking about it on social media.
And you're not giving these people an option to watch it. You're not giving them a legal, valid, above board avenue to pay for and watch your content. And if you don't even give them the option, I'm not saying that justifies piracy at all, but what do you think they're going to do?
And didn't you say that HBO Max, did they ever get on board with Roku? And
they just signed a deal with Amazon Fire Stick.
Okay.
Here's an interesting thing about that. So we all knew there were issues preventing the deal for a while, but we weren't all privy to what those issues really were. According to some reports I've read, one of the holdup issues, and I've got to look into this to figure out what the implications are. One of the issues holding up Amazon Fire Stick allowing HBO Max on there was that HBO wanted as a part of that for Amazon Fire Stick to retire the HBO app. Because you remember they're transitioning from HBO to HBO Max, right? And I don't know how that caused a problem, But I'm sure there's probably a big thing that people who understand the situation are saying, yeah, this is a big deal because of this, but I'm just not familiar with it right now. But also apparently Roku is getting ready to announce that they've also come to a deal with HBO Max as well.
Well, they better do it before December 25th.
They better do it before December 25th. Absolutely. But yeah, it's probably going to raise piracy as well.
Oh,
I think Wonder
big
Woman's
time.
definitely going to have a piracy issue. All right, let's move on here. Man of Steel rules writes, over under 50%, some type of Guardians of the Galaxy reference will be spoken during the Suicide Squad. Also, you're often doing zany voices on the show. Did you ever do voice work during your career? You seem good at it and enjoy doing them. No, I do not do voice work at all. I am no performer in any way, shape, or form. But I would have to go over 50%.
Well, John, that's not true.
What did I do? What am I forgetting?
You are a performer. You're a break dancer.
Okay.
And
yeah.
by the way, I have certain people who have offered to do some reconnaissance work in Canada and go digging for those breakdancing videos from when you were in
like
breakdancing competitions.
At the end of Raiders, you'll never find it. Top men have hidden those. They are VHS. There's 2 specific VHS tapes that actually have footage of our old breakdancing crew. Yes, that's
so
true.
Okay. Back to the I'm not a performer bullshit.
I can't act to save my life. Are you kidding me? You should see me trying to deny to Anne that I'm the one who ate her ice cream. I can't convince her. Where'd my ice cream go? I don't know, honey. Well, I've got chocolate coming down.
Right. I did notice that the pot stickers have been eaten. Because yes, when I do fill up my water bottle with ice, I always do. You guys always have really yummy looking frozen foods. So
yeah. Sorry, what was the question again?
I don't know.
Yes,
I'm hungry.
Over under 50%. Some type of Guardians of the Galaxy reference. Oh, I'm going to go over on that. Like, it's one thing for James Gunn to take an MCU character and bring them in to make some kind of side insider wink reference. You can do that. That can be done. And let's put it this way, Man of Steel rules. I'll be very surprised. I would be very surprised if we don't hear. So I'm going to take the over on that. Many Both Hands writes, John, you often criticize Disney Plus for having no original content. No, I don't. I'll get to that in a second. Yet, by my count, they've produced 56 original programs in their first year, including 15 features, 6 specials, and like 30 plus series. Maybe it's stuff you don't like, but they are original shows. No. I am always extremely... You go back and watch anything I've ever said. I'm always very careful when I say this. Disney has put out next to no premium content. I'm always very, very careful. Yeah, yay, they've got Shop Class. And I hate saying it like that because I love Justin Long. I got a real special place in my heart for Justin Long, who hosts Shop Class. But who the fuck cares about Shop Class? They've got Be Our Chef. And yes, they've got Angela from The Office hosting it, and I love her. But this little low-budget winky-dinky stuff that's just there to be filler, that's not the... Nobody signed up for Disney Plus to watch Shop Class, okay? Nobody signed up to Disney Plus to watch Shop Class. When I'm talking about premium content, you know, Netflix is dropping premium content left, right, and center. We went through a year of Disney prior to Mando season 2 airing. We went through a year of Disney, getting Mandalorian season 1 and Hamilton. 2 great things, but 2 things.
People want more than that.
Now, 2021 is shaping up to be a significantly better year for Disney Plus. We've got, first of all, we got Mando right now. We're going to have WandaVision. We're going to have...
well, I think, you're touching on a really good point, which is that 2020 was supposed to have more original content.
Yep.
But because of the pandemic and because these are all part of a cinematic universe where, and like I've said, I still maintain that Falcon and Winter Soldier is not going to come out until after Black Widow does because there's some sort of through line, whereas WandaVision lives in her own world and so she can do whatever she wants to do. I'm surprised that WandaVision hasn't come out yet, but now we find out that WandaVision isn't coming out until 2021 either.
But to me, see, this is an old argument. I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but it just reminds me again of why the hell did you launch with nothing else in the can? Like when they launched Disney Plus, there was no pandemic, but all they had ready to go was Mandalorian. They should have had something Mandalorian, 2 weeks after that finale, we've got the next thing launching.
Yeah.
HBO has a big premium show airing, sometimes 2 at the same time. And then like a week or 2 after that airs, like we just got season 2 of, His Dark Materials. What's the thing they just, I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head now.
The Golden Compass?
Something like that. So they've
The
got
Amber Spyglass?
whatever the name of the series
I read
is
the books.
that I can't remember.
They're so good.
But they've got the new season of that now starting to air. You know, so one thing ends, they have a next thing ready to go. And Disney was simply said, oh, we've got Mandalorian. Okay, let's launch.
But that's how you have people stream hop.
Yes.
You know, like, okay, I'll pay my $6.99 a month for, you know, this. Well, now there's nothing original, so I'm going to unsubscribe from that, and I'm going to pay my $6.99 over here for this.
By the way, his Dark Materials. Thank you, Bill 4393. Thank you for that. I forget. Why did I forget His Dark Materials? Anyway,
you said His Dark Materials.
Did I say His Dark Materials?
You did.
Oh.
That's why I was like, what are you trying? Because the His Dark Materials is it's 3 books. The first one being the Golden Compass. The next one, the Amber Spyglass, or I have them out of order. But so you did say that.
Okay, there we go. I'm not as.
You've had some head trauma.
The head trauma I had today, guys. It's the head trauma.
Everything is excused.
Yes. This is still all numb.
Of course
the entire
it is.
Side of my face
You're
is numb.
probably gonna have a big bruise on your face.
I probably am. Anyway, and it's still affecting the way I'm talking. Anyway, okay. The sock rights. Just bought an Oculus Quest 2. I have an Oculus Quest 1. They're really kind of fun because I probably won't be able to get a PS5 for a minute. First time I've ever had a VR system, worth every penny. Also, it doesn't require being paired to a PC, and it truly is wireless. Listen, seriously, I got to tell you, Ann and I did pick up an Oculus Quest, the original one. We picked it up a while ago because she wanted to play Beat Saber. And then I got the Vader game. But
I played that here.
Oh, that's right.
When you guys first got it.
That's right. I remember that.
That is such a workout.
Yeah.
I remember I was sweating afterwards. Like, it's hard. And I was on one of the really easy. I actually tried to get one of those for Tom for Christmas last year, and they were sold out everywhere. Like, impossible to get them.
We had to wait 2 months to get it when we ordered it. We had to wait months. Normally, you get it on Amazon and get it 2 days later, but we had to wait months to get it. So,
are they available now?
I'm sure the Oculus Quest 1 is available now. I don't know about getting Oculus Quest 2, although I do think I want to get Oculus Quest 2.
Well, I already have Tom's Christmas present, which I really want to tell you guys because...
Well, don't say it on the air.
I'm not. Well, that's the thing. As soon as I left the house, he goes, I'm going to watch the show today. So I was like, okay, well, don't talk shit about your husband today. Just kidding. Just kidding.
All right, let's move on here. Next up, we've got I've Been Better writes. I don't mind spoilers. It helps me understand movies when I watch them. I don't have a sophisticated brain when it comes to following storylines, especially movies with difficult plots. Have you heard of anyone like me out there? Am I shot in the brain? No, listen, I know there are a lot of people who really don't mind or care about spoilers. It's the story, right? It's watching it play out. Hearing what happened to a lot of people, hearing what happens is not why you watch a movie. You don't watch the movie to find out what happens. You can just jump online and find a full description of the movie if all you care about is what happens.
Titanic sinks.
Titanic sinks. Spoiler alert. But you go to see the process of this. It's the story being told. That's the magic of it. It's the telling of the story. That's the magic of it. Unless
the whole thing about the movie is in the oh shit moment, like I see dead people, because that is going to affect the way that you watch the project, but like, for example, and I'm one of those people where if you figure out something, do not tell me. I hate spoilers because I don't go into movies trying to figure it out. I literally just go, I kind of put my seatbelt on as if I'm on a ride at Disney World, and I go, okay, you're going to show me what you're going to show me when you want me to see it. I was like that with Knives Out. I don't try to predict and go, oh, I wonder who. I just go on the ride and I allow myself to be entertained. Tom is one of those, I want to figure out who done it and who this and who that from the very beginning. We're watching The Undoing on HBO Max right now. Right. And from the very first episode, he was like, so-and-so's the killer. And I'm like, God damn it, shut up. You know, and so everybody I talked to about then doing, they're like, oh, I think it's so-and-so. I'm like, I don't care. Just let me enjoy it. I hate spoilers.
The dilemma of spoilers, though, this is a big problem. This has been a problem of movie fandom since I've been a movie fan, is that the real problem with spoilers is nobody has any agreement on what is a spoiler.
Oh.
Like, to some people, a spoiler is an event in a movie that fundamentally alters your perception of the movie. He's Kaiser Soze.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sled.
You're right.
I see dead people. Like, to some people, that's what a spoiler is.
That is what a spoiler is.
But then it goes all the way through like 800 other steps, all the way down to, you told me there was a car chase in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You spoiled it. So it's like, because nobody has a foundational agreement on what is and is not a spoiler, it becomes very, shaky ground. Right. Whenever you're talking about, like, for instance, I was talking about Mandalorian season 1, episode 2 or 3 the other day. It's episode 3, the one with Bo-Katan. And I said, so we got Bo-Katan in this, and not everybody, but a couple of people who have a much looser terminology of spoiler got really upset. It's like, we all knew that she was coming in to play Bo-Katan. We knew Bo-Katan was in this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I didn't know it was going to be this episode. Well, okay, so even to talk about,
is that Katie Sackhoff's character?
Yeah, it's Katie's. Yeah,
and that was the thing. I love Katie Sackhoff, and I was so excited when she took her helmet off. I was like, oh my God! And so I immediately wanted to tweet about it. But same thing. And then there were seeing Titus.
Welliver?
Titus Welliver, who I love from Deadwood. I was really excited to see him. I don't think that my excitement over seeing her take her helmet off and having perfect hair, and it was always, as an actress, it's actually really funny whenever you watch someone go to take their helmet off and it's from the back. And then and they don't ever show them taking the helmet off because the hair would be all like that, and then the makeup would be all jacked up. So I love those moments. The
best example of that, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Kylo Ren has Poe Dameron prisoner, and he's talking with his mask on. And then the camera cuts to an angle, like kind of from back here. He starts to take his helmet off, and you see the hair is all mussed, right?
Of course.
And then the camera cuts to the front, and the helmet's already off his head. He's got like his...
Right, it's sort of like...
And the hair's perfectly coiffed, and everything is like absolutely perfect. It's like...
Katie's makeup is like perfection. But Tom goes, she looks a little different. I said, Tom, we just saw her like 2 months ago on Battlestar Galactica, which was 15 years ago. Yeah, she looks a little different. Amazing.
Yeah, she looks great.
She looks great. Yeah.
Okay, and she is also alumni of The Flash.
Oh.
She's on The Flash too, just like you.
She probably had a few more episodes.
She's had a couple more episodes than you did, yes. All right.
But I still did it. I still was on the show.
All right, let's move on. Next up. That was I've Been Better. Next up, the Nerd Errant writes, regardless of the fate of theaters, I say Disney Plus will use a mixture of low and high cost shows. I'm sure they'll remember the reality show boom at the turn of the millennium and how it waned, though it didn't outright burst. Audiences like both. Here's the thing, Nerd Errant. They haven't put out any premium content, relatively speaking, and they got 73 million subscribers in the first year. They know. Disney knows. They don't, long term, they don't need to put out high cost, high premium content. Like when you can do things, because people keep coming for the library. They come for the library. So don't get me wrong. Disney will continue once or twice a year to put out something, once we get past like 3 or 4 years, to put out something really big bang. They will. But it's not going to be the way it was. It's not going to be like 2019 where they put out, what was it, $8 billion films or something like that? 8 billion high profile, high budgeted films. They're not going to do that because they don't have to. They can make the money without spending the money. That, to streamers, is the magic of streaming. We can make the money without necessarily spending the money. They need to spend it right now to get it all up, and they're battling it out. They're trying to get market share and all that kind of stuff. So we are in the streaming wars right now. But once that all settles down, Once they've got your monthly subscription fees coming in, and once Disney is making $24 billion a year in revenue, which they will be by the end of 2023, and they realize we can put out 2 premium pieces of content a year, and we'll still make this $24 billion a year.
Well, on the chat, Ronnie, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Excuse me, Ronnie White Jr. commented about Black is King, which I forgot about. Did you see that the Beyonce album?
The Beyonce thing? Nope.
Oh my God, that is incredible. It is some of the most breathtaking cinematography, costume, choreography. It is actually a masterclass in visual. It is a visual orgasm, dare I say. I mean, obviously, we know Beyonce can put out incredible music. I don't care if you're a Beyonce fan or not. Like the woman knows what she's doing. When she puts out a new album, she doesn't just go, okay, my album's dropping. Like she releases an entire cacophony of visual and audio, just submerging her fans in beauty. And I'm telling you, Black is King, whether you're a Beyonce fan or not, it doesn't matter. It is from a cinematography perspective, the saturation of color.
Do we know who directed it?
I don't know offhand who directed it. No. I mean, I can look it up, but it is stunning. So Ronnie, thank you so much for bringing that up. I forgot about that, but yeah, that was a really big one this year.
All right, let's keep going here. Next up, we've got the sock rights. I finally set up my TV, 58-inch Vizio V-Series that I got about a month ago. I never had a TV in my room before, and none of the others in the house are hardly ever available. Any suggestions on what movie I should watch first? Ooh, you know what? The one I've been going to a lot lately.
On what?
On a new Vizio 58-inch V-Series television.
Oh, okay.
The one I've been going to lately, like normally I say, I moved into a new house. What should I watch first? Star Wars. Hey, I just moved to England. What should I watch first? Star Wars. But my actual go-to lately for new TVs, and I did this when Anna and I got our 75-inch that's hanging downstairs. The first thing I watched to really get is I watched Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Something that really lets you soak in the appreciation of a new screen you just got. So yeah, my recommendation is actually Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, although any Lord of the Rings with that sweeping cinematography and that gorgeous New Zealand landscape, anything from that series would be acceptable, Sock. All right. Next up, we got Caleb who writes, which would make you the happiest to hear about, and which do you think is most likely? Another Alien, another Die Hard, another Terminator, or another Expendables? No reboots, remakes, must be in the current continuity. Well, I mean, Alien has already shifted their continuity about 8 times, so I'm not really sure we can make that. What is more likely to happen is I believe another Terminator is probably is the most likely to happen. Although Stallone keeps saying he's going to do another Expendables. So we'll see about that.
You know, there was actually an Expendables that was in development for a long time.
Yeah, I remember talking about it in the AMC days about a whole bunch of people were.
And there were some incredible names that were attached to it. It was pretty much like every action. It was like Charlize Theron and I'm blanking on names. The reason I'm blanking is because on the chat, Jay Master just said that it was actually Beyonce that directed Black is King. Oh, so okay. Even more reason to love her.
Well, then who was her cinematographer? Who was her cinematographer?
Probably Beyonce.
Beyonce anyway, was the cinematographer.
But yeah, I know that Stallone was producing, or he was part of the development of Expendables for a while. Yeah, he was, and they were writing a script. They were because
they had actors attached to it the whole bit. Like every famous female name seemed to be attached to it, and that one just kind of disappeared.
Yeah,
the one I would be more, and I gotta say, I think Expendables is probably the one I'd be most interested in. And look, not all the Expendables movies have been great. I mean, no doubt, not all the Expendables movies have been great. Far from it. But a couple of them have been really cool, and the concept I still think is great. Get these older, aging, classic heroes together. Don't do what they did in that one Expendables movies where they made half of it fresh new faces who all sucked.
Right.
But like, And maybe bring in one or two newer faces. Guess what? Dwayne's approaching 50. Get him in there. But seeing Chuck Norris on screen, seeing Jean-Claude Van Damme as the bad guy, I mean, this is just fun.
And seeing them kind of poke fun at themselves.
Yes.
That's great because we've seen them take themselves way too seriously for way too long. So seeing them have a little fun at their own expense, it almost humanizes them in a way, makes them a little bit more endearing, kind of gives them that same thing that I like about the Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, that self-deprecating. Thank you. So thank you. It's kind of hard to think on your feet sometimes. That self-deprecating humor. What was that movie that about the old veterans that the young guys try to they're veterans in the army, the military, and they're in like a VA. I'll remember it. Never mind. Forget about it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not. Look, I don't know if you ever get happy mad when you see certain people. Like for me, seeing Sylvester Stallone in things always makes me happy mad, especially when it's like an action thing. Because I went to see Rambo First Blood, or Last Blood, Rambo Last Blood, which is pretty. It's a viscerally satisfying movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not Shakespeare, but it's viscerally satisfying. But seeing Stallone, who I believe now is 73 or 74, it's amazing. It's amazing to see. This guy is a genetic freak. I don't care how many horse steroids he's taken. I could take that amount of horse steroids. I'm not going to look like him.
Right.
So it's happy. But then it makes me mad. It's like, you son of a bitch looking like that at 75. F you. When I can't look half as good as that at my age. So I don't know if you get that like happy mad feeling sometimes when you watch some people on screen, or I don't know, but it's like.
I saw a picture of Cicely Tyson yesterday, and she's like, I think she's like 94, because I saw her on Broadway doing Trip to Bountiful at 88. And I was like, this
Broadway at 88?
Yes. And somebody goes, oh, well, yeah, but she's getting her lines fed to her in an earpiece. I was like, do you have any idea how difficult that would be to get your lines fed to you in an earpiece and then have to like, while other people are talking? So yeah, Cicely Tyson, she looks incredible, and she's like 94 and still as glamorous as ever.
All right, let's move on here. Next up, we've got Suthius, who writes. So Ryan Lohner first writes, many thanks to the Crown. Am I in the right spot, by the way? Yes, it is. Many thanks to The Crown. My wife just finished binging the newest season of that last night. Many thanks to The Crown for helping me finally understand the gag from V for Vendetta that Princess Anne's then recently born daughter, Zara, is the queen at age 16 after everybody else was killed. So that one went right over my head. I don't remember that at all. I don't know the reference to that. But let me say this. I sat and watched a couple of the episodes of the new season of The Queen with Anne and
The Queen or The Crown?
The Crown, sorry. With Anne and Corey.
Now, did you watch the first two seasons?
I did. I saw the first two seasons. Number one, Helena Bonham Carter as Margaret was awesome.
She's so good.
It's also pretty fun because Helena Bonham Carter also played Margaret's and Elizabeth's mother in one of my favorite films of the past 10 or 11 years, The King's Speech. She played Elizabeth and Margaret's mother. So that was pretty fun to see. Number two, I keep forgetting, is it Gillian Anderson from X-Files?
Yeah.
Gillian Anderson.
As Margaret Thatcher.
As the Iron Lady, Margaret
I've heard she's
Thatcher.
amazing.
Oh my God.
She doesn't, you can't even tell that it's her in the posters.
Nope.
I haven't seen the third season. Tom didn't watch seasons 1 or 2, so I'm going to have to watch season 3. I don't know when, because he's always home. We're both always home. That's
the
all
only
we
thing
do.
my aunt said she didn't really appreciate about season 3, she said it's still very good, but she said the thing she didn't like about it as much was that they focused too much on Diana. She goes, it's The Crown. This show is best when it's focused on Elizabeth. That's Anne, but she thought it focused a little bit too much on Diana.
That's what everybody's been waiting for 2 decades.
Really?
I mean, for 2 seasons.
Eh.
There's been so much buildup about Diana. And let's face it, Diana, I mean, is one of those figures that is one of the most talked about, one of the most, I mean, she died, in the 90s?
Yes, absolutely
and people
was, yeah.
still, like, you know, I mean, she's so
the people's
iconic.
princess. She was the people's princess.
I think also because the story of her marriage that it enthralled so many people of like, oh, is this, perfect, Camelot and blah, blah, blah.
Average girl meets Prince Charming.
Right. It was just such a Cinderella story that just went up in flames. And then everybody saw the reality of what it was. And so I think seeing that played out and what was it? I think the actress who played Diana said, what was interesting for her about season 3 of The Crown is seeing that it wasn't so black and white. It wasn't like Charles is a monster, Diana is an angel.
Yeah. Anne told me, but she said it really does play into, hey, there were issues on it. It was a 2 to tango situation.
Right. Yeah. And also, I think that, it must be really challenging to be telling these stories that now so many people were alive, and not only were alive for, but that we have video footage of. A lot of the stuff that happened in the first 2 seasons, there was very limited news coverage.
Oh, there was no TV.
Right.
When it started,
right. But by the 80s, tabloids, you had everything. There was so much access. So I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really excited to start watching it.
All right, let's move on here. Next up, Suthius writes, hey guys, I am so sick and tired of cancel culture. Aw, boo-hoo. Somebody said something that I don't agree with, or someone said something or did something that is woke. Jesus Christ. Carano or anyone else who has an opinion shouldn't be fired. In extreme situations, like you said, sure, assess and see what's best. But for someone having an opinion on a matter, come on now. This also goes for people like J.K. Rowling. Sure, she said some insensitive things, but do these situations warrant canceling? So this all comes from a video I put up the other day that was made around a question somebody sent in, and I thought it deserved its own standalone video. So for those of you who did not know, so Gina Carano has been on social media saying some things on social media, and it got a lot of people upset, and a lot of people calling for a job. The hashtag fire Gina Carano started going around. Of course, she's in The Mandalorian. My position on this is pretty clear. I do not now, nor have I ever believed that somebody's opinion on a situation, again, there are a million variables. There are absolutely a million variables to consider, but I'm saying in general. In general, somebody having an opinion on a position, to me, it's ridiculous to call for somebody's job based on an opinion they have. Now, listen. That doesn't stop me. So to me, the idea that Gina Carano should be fired for things she's tweeting, especially when you consider the nature of what she's tweeting, I think is asinine. I'll just say it. I think it's asinine. Now, I as an individual can look at what Gina Carano is writing saying, you're stupid, and that's really dumb. I can say that. And I do. I believe, I don't want to get into politics or anything, but just to illustrate the point, that I, on one hand, can completely believe, wow, what you just said is ass stupid. But at the same time say, oh, but do I think the girl should lose her job over that and be run off a show she's starring in because of that? Again, a million different variables. There are more extreme situations that would have to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. But something like this, no. I think it is equally as stupid as all these people, like when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came out and announced who he was personally endorsing as president in the thing. You had all these people like trying to advertise a burning Dwayne Johnson movies party and swearing they'll never let their children watch Dwayne Johnson movies again. It is equally as stupid. Okay? It is equally as stupid. So I just, now look, there are some things that we should take more seriously. Yes, you can't, like, I have my lines. I don't want to get into in depth, but yes, I thought the whole idea about should she have been fired from her show is dumb.
Am I the only person who doesn't think that cancel culture is actually a thing?
Like, no, but it is.
I don't.
It is.
No,
I've seen it firsthand. I have seen it firsthand.
Here's the thing.
Robert Meyer Burnett. Here's the thing. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but Robert Meyer Burnett was very, very closely part of that. The cancel culture comes in when it's somebody expresses an opinion. Like, look, Chris Brown, fuck that guy. That guy beat a woman so bad she was in the hospital and her face looked like the side of beat up beef. All right. So fuck that guy. But when somebody expresses something, right? Mm-hmm. And then you see this incredible backlash where people start calling for people to lose their jobs and be fired.
Mm-hmm.
That's cancel culture. That's a real thing. Is it as bad?
It's only cancel culture if the people respond to it and go, okay, we're going to do it. I mean, look at Ezra Miller. Like, people have been calling for his job, and WB is just like, la, 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 la. And they're still over there filming The Flash. He hasn't been canceled. Just because
it doesn't happen 100% of the time doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Like, not everybody dies from COVID, but people are dying from COVID. You know what I mean?
Of course. But what I'm saying is, like, you have a right to say whatever you want, no matter how stupid I may think it is. And I, as a consumer, have every right to go on my social media and go, I don't like this person and I'm not interested in watching their whatevers or buying their whatevers. I, as a consumer, have the right to express my opinion by what I pay for. And then if I'm the owner of, if I run the company, then I have a decision to make of, okay, what's going to affect my bottom line? Is this person's outburst and the number of people who are legitimately unsubscribing or, not, am I seeing a change in my bottom line? Now, I don't think that can happen immediately, but I also think that it falls in line with other behavior. For example, we talked about Johnny Depp being, like after the libel issue in the UK, and I'm not going to get into whatever happened with him and Amber Heard. I don't care. It's not my business. I'm not interested. But, you and I talked privately about, I wonder if there were other things going on, because it was way too convenient for them to just be like, oh, yep, sorry, we're going to need you to leave. I also find it certain, and I'm not going to bring up certain other people that have been, quote, canceled, but behind the scenes, I've been on shows where there is a really problematic person, really problematic, and nobody likes working with that person.
Is it this show?
Sorry, John, it's you. I want you to be canceled. If everybody could just hashtag, no, I'm just kidding. But I've been in situations where there's someone who's so problematic, but you can't fire them because them being an asshole and being toxic is not a fireable offense. However, them saying, racist stuff on Twitter, or like their Twitter being unearthed and finding that there was really disgusting misogynistic things being said, them being fired for that is just a really convenient excuse for them to get fired in general. Usually someone expressing an opinion online, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And so if they are immediately fired afterwards, I mean, and yeah, the Robert Meyer Burnett situation, I don't know all the details about that. You saw it firsthand. I'm just saying, I feel like people raise ire about cancel culture a lot. And I'm like, you know what? Just like you have every right to say whatever you want, and the First Amendment guarantees that you're not going to get arrested for speaking out against your government, the First Amendment does not protect you from whatever backlash your idiot rantings.
No. And I agree. I agree about that.
I, as a consumer, have every right.
Nobody's talking about arresting anybody. Say, look. I made this clear the other day. When people talk about cancel culture, they usually use that phrase in the same sentence as free speech. I can say what I want. Here's the example I always use when people want to bring up the free speech issue. Because while I said, listen, no way Gina Carano should be fired over this.
Yeah,
and then
I don't think so either.
Say, yeah, because we believe in free speech. No. This is not a free speech situation. And here's the analogy. And some people don't like that I use this analogy. Sorry, this is a perfect analogy for that. If you invite me over to your home for dinner, and I come into your home, and while sitting in your home, I decide to stand up at the table and say, your mother's a whore. If I said that to you, and your mother's sitting right there, I say, yeah, your mom, she's a whore.
Don't point at me.
Sorry, I meant to point at my screen. I'm sorry. Your mother's a whore.
Your mother's a good Catholic woman.
What are you going to do? Are you going to continue to allow me to be in your house and eat dinner with you? No. You're going to ask me to leave. Is that you being against free speech? No. Is that you violating the First Amendment? No. Because nobody's talking about somebody being arrested. Free speech and stuff like that is about the government getting involved and being free. Other people are free to react. Free speech covers also your right to react to what other people say and do. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This isn't an issue of free speech. So just get that bullshit out of here. This is not an issue of free speech because everybody has the freedom to react to stupid stuff you want to do or say. It's not free speech. It's not First Amendment, but it is to me common sense, right? People are going to have different opinions than you and me in this world. Like wherever you are, wherever you live, whoever you are, you and I are always going to have people who have different points of view on something. Sometimes different points of view of things we feel strongly about. Sometimes it gets into the asinine. I think it's perfectly fine to fire gay people if you find out they're gay. No, fuck you. Burn in hell. That's different. And I also agree that, listen, if you work for a company and you embarrass the company, like when I hire people to work with me, I hire people to work with me because you bring something to the table and you will help make life in my enterprise better and easier, and you're going to contribute. If you become a liability, that having you here is hurting our reputation and your actions and words and whatever is hurting our business, then it is not a violation of free speech to say, I've got to part ways with you because you being here is hurting my business.
You're bringing attention to this company that is not what we are interested in
But
having.
then we've got to ask the question, where does that line get drawn? Where's the line between somebody's got to be able to say, in the instance of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who just came out and said, I support this presidential candidate. If he was working, was it reasonable then for people to say, we call on everybody, let's boycott this guy, let's boycott his movies, let's never watch his, let's not let our children watch his movie. Was that reasonable? It's not reasonable to me. It's reasonable to disagree, but it's unreasonable to have that kind of reaction to somebody simply expressing a different point of view than one that you may know is total common sense. And again, I think what Gina Carano said was ass stupid. But I don't think she should be fired for that position.
But it also, like, as someone who watches and enjoys The Mandalorian, I don't watch The Mandalorian for Gina Carano.
Right. I like her on it.
Yeah, she's on it.
I think I really like her on it.
She's serviceable, whatever. Now, knowing what Gina Carano posts and knowing that I disagree with her position on things, I'm just not going to follow her social media. Am I really interested in whatever she does next? Not really. You know, if I'm already interested in a project and she happens to be on it, I'm not going to pitch a fit over it, but I'm not going to watch something specifically go, oh my God, Gina Carano, I really love that girl.
Yeah, but you were going to do that anyway before she wrote the stuff on social media, right? Like you're not really, it's the same thing with me. Like I have different political beliefs than say Clint Eastwood does. Clint Eastwood believes some things that I really don't. But I still think he's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, one of the biggest screen icons of all time, and I love watching his work. So I don't know.
I think there's also there's way bigger things that we can be boycotting right now, like Tyson Foods. Go check it out. They're fucking horrible.
I don't know anything about Tyson.
They're disgusting people. They're terrible.
I know nothing. I do have some of their things
Google
in my freezer.
You'll be disgusted.
Okay. Anyway, let's. Oh, actually, it is 11:30.
Time for me to go.
Time flies. So listen, thank you for being here. Look at her little. Oh, she's asleep.
She's sleeping.
She's asleep. She's got the ribbons in her hair.
Can you wake up and say goodbye to everybody?
Where can we follow? Can people follow you and little Joey Bishop in the meantime?
You can come and visit us on Instagram and Twitter at Aaron L. Cummings. And will we see you next week? Because next week is American Thanksgiving. Are you having a show?
I'm probably having a show. I'm Canadian. I don't know if you knew that, but I'm probably having a show.
Well, your wife is not.
That's true. This is true. But yes, we're probably having a show on next Thursday.
Okay, well then.
But if you're in town, come on by.
Honey, I ain't going anywhere for a long time, at least until April. And then hopefully sometime soon after then, we will see.
Oh, Joey's looking at me. Hi, Joey. Hi. Anyway, I love her so much.
Goodbye, guys.
All right,
thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, guys. Aaron Cummings, everybody. All right, we still got some time here, and we've still got a whole bunch of your questions to get through. So let's not waste any time, and let's keep getting to it here. Next up, Gabriel Orama, PR Boston writes, hey, John, thanks for answering the Carano question speaking of which, I don't support cancel culture either. Nerd question. In a world where Batfleck and Keaton will both be in The Flash, what are the chances that we see Michelle Pfeiffer back in a cameo? 0.0009%, 1% cheers. Ah, man, I hate saying zero on anything. But yeah, so I'll go as low as 1. Only because, and the only reason I'm not going lower than 1 is because I don't say 0. I almost never say 0. So I'll say 1%, but it's 1% at best. Now, would I geek out a lot to see Michelle Pfeiffer back as Selena Kyle? Yeah. Yeah, I would. Her Batwoman. To me, her Catwoman is still the de facto Catwoman. Like, Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman to me is the standard by which all Catwomen are measured. So I would geek the hell out over that, Gabriel. But unfortunately, it is probably very much down to a 1%. All right. Preston the Kryptonian writes, I'd like to say that the scene towards the beginning of The Last Starfighter where Alex stares at the galaxy models above his head and he had a binary sunset moment. Listen, again, somebody asked me the other day if I was doing an Ask Me Anything on Facebook last night, and somebody asked, what movie do you really want remade? And I always go to, 2 questions come up. What older movie now, like slightly older movie, would you really want a sequel to, and which one would you really like remade? The sequel answer is always the same. It's Mystery Men. Ben Stiller, Hank Azaria, William H. Macy, Jeannie Garofalo, Paul Rubens, Casanova Frankenstein, Captain Amazing, whatever. It absolutely Mystery Men. That's the one. If I could snap my fingers and have a sequel made today, it would be to Mystery Men. The remake one is also always the same. It's The Last Starfighter. The Last Starfighter is so primed for remake, Preston. I mean, that's the one I'd got to see. All right, the Black Knight writes, MCU has to be the greatest achievement in movie history. It depends on what you're talking about as far as your criteria goes. Box office gross, Rosta, attention to detail. I don't know what Rosta is. Attention to detail, story length. I could go on. One serious flop, and it could all come crashing down. Is the MCU 23-0? No, the MCU is not 23-0. And I would also never, no, I would not say, like, if you're talking about box office empire-wise, it's hard to dispute. It's hard to dispute. Empire box office wise, because it almost averages $1 billion per film over a stretch of 20 plus movies. That's insane. That's incredible. But are they the best movies? No. I mean, The Godfather, the Godfather franchise, probably Godfather, Star Wars. I mean, here's the thing. When people want to talk to me comparing Star Wars to MCU, right? Everybody only has this much of an attention span. Like, to me, it always comes down to, here's the thing. Star Wars came out like a little after I was born. And it, to this day, is one of the biggest things. Here we are, decades later, 4 decades later. 4 decades later. And Star Wars is as talked about, buzzed about, whatever. Here we are talking Mandalorian every week. Is still one of the biggest pop culture power things in the world. And what I often say about when people try to compare the MCU, which I also completely love, is let's talk again in 25 years. Let's talk again in 25 years. Will the MCU have that kind of staying power? Will we still be anxiously looking forward to the next MCU movie or the next MCU TV show 25 years from now? And I don't know the answer to that. I'm not saying we won't. I don't have the answer to that. I'm just saying let's have that. We're a long ways off from being able to have that conversation. But as of right now, I would say no, other than financially. Let's see. Next up, the Black Knight writes, last week when I said The Martian was the best loser at the awards, it was just me being bitter, as it's one of my most beloved movies and was beat, probably meant beaten. My Revenant was beaten by Revenant and was beaten by Revenant and others to awards. Outside of the MCU, my RIP movie pass never had so much. What's RIP? RIP movie pass? Never had much repeat viewing. Listen, The Martian is amazing. And a lot of people forget this, but prior to The Martian, Ridley Scott, I think it's generous to say Ridley Scott was on a cold streak. Ridley Scott was on quite a cold streak. He had put out a number of crappy films in a row, and he just wasn't the Ridley Scott of old. I mean, a lot of people thought he'd lost it. And then came The Martian. And The Martian is so beautifully made. Like, a guy alone on a planet and it was thrilling and you're on the edge of your seat. The simple act of a dude trying to make potatoes was like as thrilling as almost any MCU or DCEU action sequence. Think about that. Somehow they made a guy trying to make potatoes as almost as thrilling, nail biting, and tension building and gut wrenching as anything you'd see in a Star Wars, DCEU, or MCU movie. It's incredible. Now, do I think it is like a top 10 greatest film of all time? No, I don't. But I absolutely love that movie. Matt Damon was so good. The supporting cast is fantastic in it. It's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant film. Let's see. Next up. Dylan Fontaine writes, I was really excited for the Snyder Cut, but I have now been totally put off by the fact that it's being released in a 4:3 aspect ratio. That would be great for IMAX, but this is HBO Max. Is it bad that I'm put off by such a petty thing? I would say this. I would say you as a viewer, we all have little things. We all have our things that appeal to us a little bit more or turn us off a little bit. We all have them. And if the concept of a movie coming out in a 4:3 aspect ratio is kind of a turnoff to you, there's nothing wrong with that. I would say this. I think it is an interesting decision. If it's true, by the way, I've read all over the place that it's going to be in 4:3 aspect ratio, but I don't know that I've seen any 1000% confirmation of that. Maybe it was completely confirmed and I'm just not aware of it. But let's go on the assumption that it is. If it is, it's also a departure from what Snyder Cut is supposed to be, because that's not what the original Snyder version of Justice League was not going to be in 4:3 aspect ratio. Just saying. But I don't think it certainly doesn't turn me off. Let's put it that way. It being 4:3 is not going to turn me off. Whether the picture is this size or this size or this size or this size or whatever, as long as it's a clear picture and I can see what's going on and understand what's going on, I don't think it should be a turnoff. I don't think it should be a turnoff. Speaking of which, let me bring this up. I am curious about something. The other day, Zack Snyder said that the upcoming Justice League miniseries on HBO Max is going to have 2.5 hours of unseen footage before. A footage that was unseen before. That made me scratch my head. I'm like, wait a minute. You know what? If you'll indulge me for a second, if you don't mind, I know a lot of people hate this, but I don't care. To me, it helps me explain my thoughts a lot better. Let me bring up the Campea Classroom for a second. All right? Give me a moment to bring up the Campea Classroom. So this is interesting to me. Okay, so and maybe Zack Snyder was just talking out of his ass. Maybe he wasn't thinking things through. But he says 2.5 hours of new unseen footage. Okay, interesting. But he's already also said only shot about 5 new minutes of material during these reshoots, which I don't believe that, because like even just a couple of the actors have been shot for a couple of weeks. It doesn't take a couple of weeks to shoot 5 minutes of on-screen material. It doesn't take that long to shoot. If they shot for weeks, I don't believe him when he says it's only 5 minutes of new material, but maybe it is, whatever. But let's take him at his word for a second, okay? Only about 5 minutes. Now, the new Justice League HBO series is going to be, they've already said, 4 hours long, right? Okay, so if it's 4 hours long and you subtract the 2.5 hours of the new Justice League cut is completely never been seen before, right? Well, that means that 1.5 hours, let me try this again, hours has been seen already. Right? Am I crazy? Am I crazy? If 2.5 hours of the new Justice League miniseries hasn't been seen before, and this thing is going to be 4 hours long, that means that an hour and a half of it is stuff we've already seen. Now, Zack Snyder has said that the Justice League HBO series will not have anything from original movie that he didn't shoot himself, right? Zack Snyder said that. He said, I'm not going to put anything in this new miniseries, this new Snyder cut, that I didn't shoot myself. So none of the stuff that Joss Whedon reshot, that's not my movie. That wasn't my vision. It's only going to be stuff I shot. Well, then that's saying that the 1.5 hours of theatrical Justice League was Zack Snyder's material. Like, am I missing a step here? Snyder said 2.5 hours of the new Justice League miniseries has never been before seen. That means an hour and a half of it is stuff we've already seen already. He's already said that he's not going to use anything from the original Justice League that he himself didn't shoot. So that means that an hour and a half of the theatrical version of Justice League, which was only 2 hours. So Justice League was only 2 hours long. That means out of that 2 hours, if 1.5 was Zack Snyder's, then only 0.5 was Joss Whedon's. So there are a couple of options available open to us, okay? Number one, when Zack Snyder said 2.5 hours of never before seen footage, he was just talking out of his ass, which every celebrity and every director and every producer and every studio person does every once in a while. You know, you're just talking out of your ass. You're just saying whatever. That's a possibility because everybody does that. Everybody does it. It's not a bad thing if Zack Snyder did that. Everybody does. So that's one possibility. But if he was being literal and saying 2.5 hours of this 4 hours has never been seen before, that means an hour and a half of it has been seen. And since he's not using any of Joss Whedon's material from Justice League, that means an hour and a half of material from Justice League was his. That flies in the face of like some people claiming that only like 10 minutes of Zack Snyder's stuff actually appeared in the theatrical cut. And I think we all know that's not true. But I don't know. I just don't know what's happening. I just find it very confusing. So I don't know. It just made it up. But again, there is a good possibility here that when Snyder said, 2.5 hours of stuff you've never seen, maybe he was just talking in really, really loose, vague generalities. And was just kind of talking out of his ass, as everybody does, right? Maybe that's the case. But if he's being literal, it raises some interesting questions. Anyway, why did I get sidetracked on that? I don't know. Let's move on from it though, shall we? Okay. Anyway, bottom line is, I would encourage you not to be turned off by it being a 4:3 aspect ratio, if indeed it is a 4:3 aspect ratio. But you're not being stupid if that is just an issue that kind of bothers you a little bit. We all have that stuff, right? We all have little things like that. And a 4:3 is stuff that kind of rubs you the wrong way at first. I get it, but I would say try to take that and put it aside for a minute. And then when it comes out, just give the 4:3 aspect ratio a chance. And maybe we'll find that it works really well with this story. You never know. All right. Next up, Federico Della Casa writes, but John, why Disney didn't include the huge Fox library in a package? Why wait and not include them? They have Aliens and Predators and tons more. But as a comic/movie fan, I knew they didn't buy Fox for Fantastic Four and X-Men, but why not use the whole library yet? Here's why. Because they didn't need to. They have a mountain of content from that they got in that Fox deal. Why blow your load all at once? You know, they got 73 million subscribers without doing it. So what do? You hold back a bunch so that next year you can drop this, and this. Woo! And it's a big deal. And then a year after that, you drop this, and that. Woo! It's a big deal. And then the year after that, hey, listen, I believe it's going to be 5 years before we see all the content that Disney got in that Fox deal on one of their streaming platforms, whether it's Disney Plus or Hulu or whatever. I believe it's probably going to be a good 5 years. I think they're going to slowly roll it out to continuously have new, fresh things to put out there and to create an event around. Can you imagine the event they're going to create around, I don't know if Die Hard's out there already, but I'll just use Die Hard as an example. You know how big of a deal they could make if it's not out there already? Of, hey guys, it's Christmas 2022, and what says Christmas more, even though Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, what says Christmas more than Die Hard? Woo! Coming to Disney Plus or coming to Hulu or whatever. They're just going to keep doing that for like 5 years. And it's smart. Why drop it all at once? And then there, we dropped it all at once. And we got a big bump from it. And now that bump is gone. And we've blown our load. And now we have no bullets left in the chamber to fire off later. You see? So they're going to slowly roll it out. They're going to slowly roll it. Not to mention, there's a bunch of Fox properties that are still entwined in other licensing deals. So there's going to be a bunch of things there. Just like not every MCU movie is on Disney Plus right now because they're tied up in some other licensing deals and they're going to have to wait until those expire. So it's a combination of different things. You know what I'm saying? It's a good question though, Frederico. Excellent question. All right, next up. Captain Blue Pants writes, how will films being released on streaming platforms affect box office reporting? I think it kills box office reporting. Surely it will make it all irrelevant now. Yeah, pretty much. How will financial successes of films be compared to another when they're released in varying streaming platforms and conditions? Won't be able to. That's just simple. I love box office numbers. And whenever I would talk about the fact that I love box office numbers, inevitably some people go, well, it's not your money, John. Why do you care how much money they make? It's not like it belongs to you. No. I get that. But because you're just looking at it too simply. Box office numbers actually tells us a lot of different things. And that's what fascinates me about box office numbers. Because box office gives us some insight into, if a film was marketed a certain way and then it has a monster opening weekend, then that makes us look at what they did with marketing that was so successful. When a movie is a huge financial hit and the box office numbers are big, or if the box office numbers are small, it tells us a little bit about why the audience was or was not interested in that subject matter. What was the audience, how are they responding to a certain actor or actress in a film? Are they responding to certain types of stories, or are they being turned off by certain types of stories? Box office numbers gives us a treasure chest full of really great, cool information. If you look beyond the surface of, well, it's not your money. Like if we look beyond that, there's actually a wealth of information and things to talk about and discuss about, what does this mean about the audience? And then it starts telling us, it starts to paint a little bit of a picture of the future. Like if people are really responding to this and this, but not that to that, then we can start to speculate and maybe, pontificate a little bit about what might be to come. There's so much information in a simple box office report. And that's why I always get excited about talking about box office. But you're right, Captain Blue Pants. It's going to become an original thing. It's going to become not an original thing. It's going to become an irrelevant thing. The more and more everything moves to streaming, we'll just have to rely on Disney Plus and Netflix to tell us how good they did. I mean, there's no standard or things we can really follow. So yeah, it's not looking forward to that. Captain Blue Pants, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not looking forward to that. All right, next up. Ann Perkins, Parks and Rec, writes, how will Black Widow going to Disney Plus affect international markets, many of whom are able to open theaters, for example? Will they have to stream too? I've only got a basic 40-inch TV and thought of watching Marvel films on that for the first time makes me depressed as fuck. Yeah, so first of all, let's be clear here. I believe it is likely that Black Widow is going to end up being released on Disney Plus. But I don't know that that's the case. There's a difference between what we believe and what we know sometimes, right? I don't know that Disney is going to take Black Widow and drop it on Disney Plus, but it is what I believe is likely. But let's be clear about that. It's not a done deal. If it does, there's a couple of ways that Disney Plus could approach it. Number one, they can simply say, we're putting it on Disney Plus, but we will give it a theatrical release in countries that do not, because there's still a lot of countries that don't have Disney Plus. We will give it a theatrical release in countries that do not have Disney Plus. That's an option. And I think that's probably what they will do. But I'm with you. Like, I don't want my first experience watching the newest MCU movie on a freaking pathetic. I got a 75-inch TV with a glorious sound system and the whole bit, but I want to watch it in a movie theater. I mean, that's not an option right now, but I'm willing to wait. But, you know, we've covered this ground, or we won't recover it all again. But yeah, that's my guess of what they'll do. Whenever they're going to put whenever they're going to put Black Widow out, whether it's in February or March or whatever, I think what they'll do is they'll drop it on Disney Plus in all the places that have Disney Plus. And then in the places that do not have Disney Plus, they will give it a theatrical option. That's my guess. Just a guess, but that's my guess. Good question, Ann. All right, next up. Ginger Giant writes, John, super important and difficult question. You can only see one of these masterpieces of cinema. Which one are you rushing out to see, Bob's Big Fart or the Viagra musical? Decisions. Well, listen, the Viagra musical is a real thing. Bob's Big Fart, the movie, is just one I kind of made up. Spike Lee doing a musical about Viagra. Who doesn't want to hear the hit song, I've Got a Stiffy? Of course we do. Everybody, the world is waiting to hear this music from Spike Lee. So, yes, I'm going with the Viagra musical, Ginger Giant. All right, next up, Captain Blue Pants writes, I'm curious as to whether or not streaming could affect a film's reception. Like, I know a good film is a good film, but like if you're watching on some shitty laptop screen, you might think a film is worse than it is. No, just thinking of other effects. Well, listen, there is no denying movies are meant to be communal experiences. I fully believe that. Movies are really meant to be communal experiences, and the full experience of a movie can only be done communally. I really believe you can only get the full real impact of a film when you're watching it with other people. That doesn't mean there's not great inherent value of just watching it by yourself. Of course there is. Absolutely there is. But again, like it's an extreme example, but I keep going back to that moment in Endgame. Like when Mjolnir flies through the air and lands in Cap's hands. Come on. Who doesn't remember being in the theater with an audience when that happened? Of course you do. Or a little bit later, as On Your Left, and the portals open. They all come walking through, including Howard the Duck, came walking through. And everybody losing their mind. And the screams and the cheers, and that's part of the experience. I still remember being in a theater watching the 40. No, I'll go to another one. I still remember being in theater when I was younger watching Wedding Crashers. I don't know that I've been in a theater. I don't think Wedding Crashers is the funniest film of all time, but it's great. But I don't know that I've ever been in a theater where I've seen a theater just all like hundreds of people collectively. I thought we're all going to pass out. They were all laughing so hard. Like there's something that's the difference that gives movies their magic. That's where the magic comes from. The artistry, the storytelling, all that is there, whether you're seeing it in a movie theater or at some little crappy screen you're watching at home. But the magic of movies comes when you're with other people, taking it in, and that shared experience becomes an infectious thing that just penetrates us and really becomes a pivotal part of the experience of that movie. And I understand I don't blame Disney. I don't blame HBO Max. Like, I understand, I laid it out yesterday. The business sense of this is all too clear. And I understand it. The business sense is undeniable about this massive move to streaming. I get the business sense. But I cannot help but lament. And there are advantages to this move. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that I lament that we are going to lose the magic. The magic of the movies is going to go, and it's going to die. Movies will still be great. Movies will still be my favorite things. Movies will still be awesome. but there's something about sitting on your ass, just like you did yesterday and the day before that and the day before that in your own living room, like you did the week before that and the week before that and the week before that, watching it on the screen, the same screen you watch the evening news on and the same screen you watch the Friends rerun on. There's a difference between watching a movie that way and watching it the way filmmakers always dreamed of their films being watched, in that community experience, and that's where the magic comes. And that experience is my favorite thing in the world. That experience is my favorite thing in the world. Watching with people in this darkened room as this piece of art that these storytellers put years of their lives into making and now present to us that we get to consume in an hour and a half to 2 hours. And the shared energy, excitement, shock, fear, dread, adrenaline, whatever it is that just envelops a room. I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that the loss of that makes me sad. The loss of that makes me sad. And there are advantages to streaming and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that there isn't. There are absolute advantages, but that makes me sad. Anyway, okay. We're almost out of time here, guys. We got time for one more. This one comes to us from Rick, who writes, an idea on how to unveil the new T'Challa for Black Panther 2. Don't. Just in an MCU movie before Black Panther 2, have a scene with an unknown black actor involved, and another Avenger says, what do you think, T'Challa? Audiences mind blown, gives us time to adjust before the sequel. Listen, there's something very poetic about that, Rick, but also completely impractical. You said it yourself in there. Give us time to adjust. Give us time to adjust. I think just throwing somebody at an audience that wasn't ready for it, wasn't expecting, and say, by the way, guys, this is the new T'Challa. Bye, enjoy the movie. Do. You know, I don't think that is giving us time to adjust. Now, I don't believe you announce who the new T'Challa is going to be right away. We talked about this on the show the other day. I think, once they selected T'Challa, I think they're going to wait a good period of time before they make it public. But I think in the spirit of, like you said, giving us time to adjust, in the spirit of that, I think it becomes all the more important that they publicly announce who the new T'Challa is going to be, so that we can, come to grips with that. It's going to be hard for a lot of moviegoers who just, love Chadwick Boseman so much. So it's going to give us time to adjust to that. And so by the time the first movie that person appears in as T'Challa comes, we're ready. It's not catching us off guard. It's not a sneak attack chair to the back. We were prepared for it. We were ready for it. I think, and besides the fact that it's almost impossible today in Hollywood, where every human being walks around with a global visual audio communications device in their pocket, to keep something like that secret anyway. But even if they could keep it secret, I believe there would be amazing backlash to it. I think it would backfire if they tried to just, okay, we're going through a movie, didn't hear anything, just going through a movie, this scene, this thing. Hey, everybody, that's the new T'Challa. What the fuck? What? Like, I just don't think that gives audiences time to prepare for it. It doesn't give us time to adjust. And so I think it's actually important. It's impossible to keep that a secret anyway, but I actually think it's important that they let us know a little bit before, whenever we're going to see T'Challa on screen again. Let us know a few months in advance, maybe even up to 6 months in advance. Let us know. Gives everybody time to come to grips with that and adjust to it. So that's my thought. Anyway, guys, listen, we still have a number of questions still to come from John Klobuchar, Andy Hong, and a few others. Do not worry. We will start off tomorrow's show with your live question. When we come to the live questions part of the show, we will start off with yours. You sent in the questions. They're going to get answered properly in a video. Don't worry about that. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. For today's installment of the John Campea Show, forgive my voice a little bit muddled. It looks like my swelling's going down. it looks like the swelling's going down. Anyway, my nose is still red, though, from where it got whacked. Anyway, thank you guys for your patience and indulgence. Special thank you to all you guys who sent in the live questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel while you did it. And all of us here, thank you very, very much for that. Guys, please remember to do the four main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.